Please. So I'll just get right into it. Hi, my name is Chloe. I am a third-year student at Oregon State University studying biochemistry, molecular biology, and having a concentration in bioinformatics. So my background in terms of coursework is not in marine science. I was really interested in the different internship opportunities being held by the MSI, and I decided to apply, and thankfully I'm able to be part of this cohort. And I was able to be a media and communications intern under the mentorship of Virginia. And hello, Virginia, who's tuning in virtually. So I'm going to be talking mostly about my pretty much kind of the overarching goals and pretty much a background of why pretty much the importance of aquaculture and its visibility and kind of how those two kind of merge into my project. So I want to introduce the white paper on your the right side of the slideshow of the slide. You'll see a screenshot of the first page of what this white paper is. The white paper is a terminology that is used to reference a proposal made by a collective. In this case, you'll see the different OSU aquaculture faculty that took part in writing this white paper that kind of shows kind of what the actions or the investments needed to be made in terms of pretty much aquaculture in this case, as you can see. The paper is quite long, it's around 12 pages. So I want to just really point out the main three values that the white paper repeats. And pretty much is building, enhancing, and generating. And what I'm going to just kind of run through them really quick. But in terms of building, it's building upon the already established aquaculture programs and different marine science like programs and majors within OSU, and being able to provide visibility to those programs for further student engagement, and enhancing already existing researchers or graduate student researchers' experiences, and generating different, whether that be social media engagement, to have to market to other investors to invest into the aquaculture programs here at OSU. This also is somewhat statewide, but not most of my work was specifically within the OSU department. So this is just these are just a few of the many different OSU programs that deal with some part in aquaculture. Oregon State University has a rich history in aquaculture research and education with a diversity of programs. And part of my goal was, first of all, identifying them and to be able to remarket them, whether that be through website development, which I'll touch on later, as well as social media engagement. So I know that some viewers on here probably are not familiar with the term aquaculture, so I thought it would be necessary to give a clear definition of what that is and what I'm referring to. So this is a definition provided by the USDA National Institute of Food and Aquaculture, and I'll just read off this, which is aquaculture involves the breeding, rearing, and harvesting of freshwater and marine species of fish, shellfish, and aquatic plants. Producer farms in all types of water environments, including ponds, rivers, lakes, oceans, and land-based closed recirculating water systems. And this will be simplified as we go along, but I just want to establish this clearly for other people that are not really familiar with it, as I personally was not until I was involved into this project. So a lot of the background I kind of want to give is in terms of why aquaculture is particularly prevalent, and why it needs to be, why my job is to visibly market the aquaculture more to just the collective state. This is a graph that I sourced from the State of the World Fisheries and Aquaculture Production website. And I found out that as I was researching aquaculture within my internship, that there was a popularized term that this was called the Blue Revolution. And as you can see, over time, aquaculture production has steadily been increasing more and more so. And especially due to the pandemic as well, different markets of aquaculture have actually increased. Although that was not the focus of my project, I thought that was really interesting. Just two statistics I want to share just to give you kind of a bigger scope of what this looks like. Today, aquaculture approximately 50% of global seafood consumption and more than 70% by 2050. And also, additionally, in terms of organs specifically, according to industry experts, farms located in Oregon's coastal estuaries annually produce oysters valued at more than $10 billion. And the reason why I mention these two statistics specifically is because that's my job, to get these statistics and to get these projected onto the website and to have people know about the research that's being done. So the question now is, why media? And there's kind of three different factors of what my job entails and why my job as a media intern. And number one is the fact that there is a global scale audience. I'm sure that everyone can attest to the fact that media is very ingrained into everything that we do, and that research has now needs to be digitized in a marketable way in order for investors to find and invest in those projects. So my job, as well as pretty much the importance of media, is to reach that audience and to make it known about the research that's being done, not just locally, but also statewide, and so forth. And I already touched base on this, but we're living in an increasingly digitized world. So being able to have this research online and accessible is extremely important, especially to my fellow interns as well as to the mentors. Just being able to have this research being seen by others and to gain, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the word. Just pretty much to gain knowledge on what these projects entail is really important. And last point is just pretty much to support and promote current research projects as well as researchers in the field. Here are just a few statistics that I want to share in regards to just media in general. As of 2021, 79% of Americans have a social media profile, and this number is up from 10% in 2008 and from around 50% in 2011. So pretty much engagement of people just not only having accounts in media or social media in this case is increasing, as well as the average number of hours that people actually spend on social media. And just a bigger statistic is that 3.69 billion people actively use social media in the world. And this is the earliest statistics I could find in 2020. So pretty much, as I kind of established, media is increasing, and also aquaculture prevalence is increasing. Therefore, my job is to merge these, and that bridge is website development, which is primarily what I did throughout my internship. So I was in charge of adding new pages, and what I mean by pages is that when you click on a website, that page that you see, that's pretty much what I'm talking about in terms of pages. And tabs are, if you look at the right of the slide, the top and the bottom, that kind of those like different columns of like news, archive, video archive, and events. Those are all tabs and also links to pages that I was also in charge of making. So my main like accomplishments in terms of pages I added was a reports and documents page, and under the reports and documents was a white paper, which I referenced at the very beginning of my presentation. This is just to give a clear statement of what the vision of aquaculture that OSU has, as well as the news archive, video archive, events page, industry stakeholders page, and the research and student spotlights page, as well as a partnership page with the Oregon Explorer map. And I'll be going through each one individually, but I want to give an overarching view of it. So these are just a snapshot of what each of these pages are. Firstly, with the news archive. So what the news archive is aquaculture related news articles. And my job, along with my team, was to collect these research articles, especially papers from the researchers and student researchers I was interviewing, and having these accessible. So that was one page that I was able to make, as well as the video archive, which is one of my favorite parts of the project, just because personally I love the engaging aspect of what videos can give, especially if you're not really affiliated with the content that they're talking about. So the video archive, as you can see, like here are just like two examples on that tab. I'm going to go more back to the Bangladesh video just because that's going to be referenced a little later, but Pretty much the video archive also includes some coding that I had to do, which is a very interesting task as well. The next tab is events tab. Due to the pandemic, obviously in-person events are not so much of a thing, but hopefully this tab will have more and more events added, even if I am not able to take part in the project, but this was also made for that reason. And next is industry stakeholders tab. So what this is that partnerships with OSU as well as other researchers that are affiliated with OSU and different organizations statewide. I wrote different, I would say blurs, but like paragraphs on referencing and studying these different organizations, as well as referencing their websites. And here's just a few other examples of what that looked like. So this was probably the most like important part of my project in terms of implementing, and that was Oregon Explorer page. The Oregon Explorer page is a resource where not only investors, but also aquaculture researchers or student researchers can access a map of Oregon and be able to click on different facilities and research institutes and find information on them. And my job was to help make that not only like aesthetically pleasing, but also to make that informative. And although right now we're trying to make this interactive, it hasn't been successful yet. So our so far final product is the one that you see on the right. But hopefully this will be more interactive in the future. However, this was a really important part of the project in terms of implementing this on the homepage of the Aquaculture website. So this was probably the most fun part of my project, which was actually talking to researchers and student researchers. So this list was just procured by my mentor and by some of the other OSU aquaculture faculty. But the researchers I was able to interview were Christopher Langdon and Hillary Igna. And Christopher Langdon's student graduate researchers, Henry Flenner and Jennifer Hesser, and I want to thank them. They're probably not watching, but I want to thank them for setting aside the time. Anyhow, what the research spotlights are is linking the different research articles that they might have put out, or the different research that they're doing or they have done, and just really highlighting that as research spotlight suggests in the title. In particular, I think what I found really amazing about this part of the project is I actually got to call Hillary Igna and not just send emails. And she was able to just give a lot of input as a woman in research and specifically in science. And as someone, for me personally, who has no family involved in science at all, it was really interesting to hear what her input was on that, and I was able to include some of her perspective into that part of the spotlight. So that was just a really cool part of the project that I personally really enjoyed being a part of, as well as talking to student researchers and kind of their thesis project and their passions behind the research project. And this is kind of the part of the project where it really pushed me to really, I guess, really assess what I know about aquaculture, even though it might be very surface level. But it was just really interesting to see how passionate they were about their projects, and it made me kind of realize how important it was in the work I was doing, even though it might just seem like I was typing away at the computer. So I mentioned this video earlier. This is a Bangladesh Reinventing Aquaculture video. If you have not seen it, please check out the Aquaculture webpage, or you can also search yourself on Google. But during my call with Hillary Igna, this is a research project I actually highlighted a lot. And it was so much to the point, I think it embodied really what aquaculture can and is on a global scale. And especially from someone that's affiliated in OSU faculty. It was just, I think, a really amazing video, and it was very well made. So I just want to point that out. So the second kind of big part of my project was social media, which deals with the outreach and engagement aspect of my internship. So pretty much the plan of execution behind this is that my main job was to highlight research facilities and their functions, as well as student experience with interns and student researchers, as well as HMSC summer students. And that part of student experience will actually be done a little bit after actually this presentation, but I'll share what I have done thus far. So I want to talk a little about the process. So this is a document that me and my team made, and pretty much I was in charge of finding aesthetically nice looking photo, getting the links, getting the names, and writing a caption that was not only appealing to like the main audience, which was like other students, but making it also somewhat marketable as well to check out these different resources. Here's a kind of an example of the Story Seafood Lab that I did, and it was also posted. So that's kind of the part of social media engagement that I was able to partake in. This is a very minuscule part of my project just because I only spent 2 weeks in this part of the aquaculture internship that I was doing just for the sake of time, but I thought it would be really interesting if I put this up. So this is research I did on financial models on the US aquaculture industry that I did with Michael Hart. And pretty much I had a very small part in this, so I really want to attribute most of the credit to Michael Hart and his team. But pretty much what I helped do is that right now there's phase 1 and phase 2 of this project, and right now they're bridging the phase 1 to phase 2, so they're kind of in that middle ground. And I was helping to get references on different fish species that are local in Oregon, and kind of give that list to the team, and the team assesses where to put that in terms of timeline of when they want to assess them and make financial models for them. So this is kind of one table that is kind of still in the making. Everything's pretty rough, but it was just interesting for me because I do not have experience in creating financial models or anything in that department. So it's interesting to see kind of the process and the thinking that goes behind it. So I just want to like at the end just acknowledge like all these different people as well as the people that are not pictured here. So firstly, to Cynthia and to Ichang, I really thank you for, first of all, especially during orientation week, being so patient with all the, like, especially me as well, and all the other interns in terms of introducing and just making this experience very like memorable for me, as well as Virginia who's watching. Thank you so much for like teaching me so many different aspects of media and integrating that within science as well. I have taken part in social media before in this type of manner, but never combining it with science or research. So it was super interesting, and it really was really worthwhile to me personally, as well as Janine and Gil from the aquaculture team. They are extremely hardworking, and it was super awesome to hear their passions behind the project, as well as different researchers and student researchers. Just one last thing is that I mentioned that I'm not from a marine science background, and for me personally, I had a really big blast in this internship. I wish I could have done more, learned more throughout time, but I really enjoyed this project, and I hope that you were able to learn a little bit about the media side of research and science. So thank you for listening, and I'm free for questions.
Chloe, did you get to tour some of the aquaculture facilities?
So I was actually supposed to tour the Food Innovation Center in Portland with Anne Kaluna. It ended up they're having an event later this fall. So she actually still invited me to come over and to tour the facility. But sadly, because of Corona, there's been a lot of restrictions. But that was supposed to be, I was supposed to do some videography projects for the internship, but sadly, just because of the pandemic and time, it didn't work out. But hopefully in the near future, there's someone that's able to do that, or if I can take part in the project again.
So a question for you. So yeah, coming from that science background and focus on kind of the communication of this stuff. What did you find the most challenging?
I think it was, for me personally, I really love writing. I think that's why for me, writing about the research and the passions behind these researchers was really exciting for me. But I think the thing that I had the most struggle with is kind of being able to draw the line between like scientific jargon and just like oversimplification. Because especially on the website, I think I talked about this with Virginia and as well as Kate, which is like an intern directly under her as well. I had a lot hard time in use terms of like, oh, like this terminology or what this research is even about, because sometimes it would just like sound like a lot of like different like fish and like seaweed words like put into one sentence. And for the regular person that isn't affiliated with that field, it seems like just like a lot. And I think I was able to, with the like great guidance of Virginia as well as her team, in being able to like find that line. But yeah, that was definitely something that I think I had to practice along the way.
We got a question online. Did you say that the website is live? And if so, how do we contribute in future?
So some of these pages are live and some of them are not, just because right now we are going through a evaluation of these of the pages, and actually I do actually need to make some edits that were that when we as we got feedback from different researchers and faculty, but they should be up probably, I would say, by fall, most of them. In terms of contributions, what I personally think would be the best is, it doesn't need to be anything too formal, but maybe emailing like Kate Brown directly, which is an intern working directly under Virginia, or emailing Virginia and just having the title like Aquaculture website feedback, and then just writing about, hey, I looked at the website and I thought this would be a great contribution, because any feedback is always helpful, and we always try to make it work and be realistic with it. So in terms of contributions, I think that would be the best.